Tonight on Ukraine Today, Russian peace signal. Last night, the occupiers launched 614 air targets into Ukraine, drones, ballistic and cruise missiles. Security guarantees for Ukraine. One of the options on the table is a bilateral defense treaty with the United States. Secrets of the Flamingo. What new things did we learn about this long-range Ukrainian missile? Spies in Kazakhs. Priests of the Russian Orthodox Church collect and pass military data about European defense sites straight to Moscow. All this and more right now. Hello, my name is Volodymyr Robchun. Hit subscribe, drop a like and let's get to the news. A powerful peace signal from Russia. Yes, that's sarcasm. Last night, the occupiers launched 614 air targets into Ukraine, drones, ballistic and cruise missiles. Air defense took down most of them, but not all. Missiles and drones hit 11 locations, and in 3 more, debris fell. Zakarpattia, Volyn, Lviv region, Rivne, Dnipro, Zaporizhia and Kyiv region came under massive attack. There are casualties. Homes and factories were damaged. In Lviv, the Russian strike caused major destruction. 1 person was killed and 3 were injured. In Zakarpattia, the occupiers hit a US electronics plant with cruise missiles. It's a civilian factory that makes health monitoring devices, coffee machines and fitness trackers. Apparently, Moscow sees that as a serious threat. In Poland, officials confirmed that a drone, which crashed yesterday in the east of the country, was Russian. The defense minister called it a provocation, and right at the moment when peace is being discussed. Meanwhile, Ukrainian drones hit Russian logistics and oil facilities. It was loud last night in the Rostov region. Details are still coming in. In the temporarily occupied Crimea, in Sevastopol, Cape Fioland and Kozachia Bay, explosions were reported. A Russian military base is located there. Strikes on Russian refineries are an effective way to cut the occupiers off from fuel. And they also show the real face of the Kremlin. Shortages of gasoline and diesel? In Moscow, they just pretend everything is fine. More on this next.
In Primorsky Krai, there are kilometer-long lines at gas stations due to a fuel shortage.
And here's what the line looks like on Melniknaya.
In short, that's the situation at Alliance.
Well, I guess it's already starting from 0 kilometers. Everyone here is waiting for some gas.
Right now, there are problems with gasoline in many regions of Russia. Earlier in annexed Crimea, there were fuel shortages at gas stations due to the special military operation, and in Zabaikalsky Krai, gasoline started being sold with ration cards. The main reasons are inflation, high demand, and constant strikes on oil refineries. The last factor is becoming especially significant. Ukrainian drones attack Russian oil refineries almost every night.
Here's another one.
This is a strike on the Lukoil oil refinery in the Volgograd region, which is among the top 10 in Russia and is one of the largest producers of petroleum products in the southern federal district. Over the past week, Ukrainian UAVs have struck oil refineries 3 times already. The plant has ceased operations, tentatively until mid-September.
We are now seeing reports almost every day about major, significant oil refineries in the European part being hit. The latest is the Lukoil plant in Volgograd, and drones are even reaching as far as the Ukhta plant in Komi, which also belongs to Lukoil. And some plants have simply shut down.
On August 2nd, after a drone strike, the Novokuybishevsk oil refinery halted its operations. On August 11th, the Saratov oil refinery stopped receiving raw materials. On August 15th, it became known that the Volgograd oil refinery had stopped. And on the same day, after a drone attack, the Samara oil refinery also stopped accepting oil for processing.
Drone attacks on Russian oil refineries, which intensified in August and led to the shutdown of at least 4 major refineries, have deprived the economy of 1/7 of its most powerful oil processing capacity. Thus, in just under 3 weeks, oil producers lost 44.3 million tons of annual refinery capacity, minus 13.5% of the country's total, which stands at 328 million tons per year.
According to Reuters, repairs at some plants will last at least a month and the Samara refinery will remain idle until the end of August. The difficulties with repairs are related to the sanctions.
Western equipment for oil refineries was included in the European restrictive measures as part of the very first package following the invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, and this is causing disruptions. As a result, in 2025, Russia once again faced a gasoline shortage. Exchange prices for AI-92 and AI-95 gasoline have soared since the beginning of the year by 40% and 50% respectively, setting new historical records: 71,097 rubles per ton and 81,337 rubles per ton.
If Ukraine continues to strike Russian oil refineries, the problems with both gasoline prices and its availability in Russia will only get worse. And the current lines for fuel in some regions of Russia will seem like nothing compared to what could happen, say, as soon as next month.
If the Ukrainians ignore Biden's request not to strike the oil terminals on the Black Sea, such as in Novorossiysk, Tuapse, or on the Baltic, where Ust-Luga and Primorsk are the two main terminals, and start attacking them, this will have a very serious impact on Russia's ability to export oil.
Strikes on Russian oil refineries and the resulting loss of capacity, as well as the potential for increased attacks, are a significant bargaining chip for Zelensky in possible negotiations with Putin.
Ukraine is fighting for freedom. Support independent Ukrainian journalism so we can keep telling the truth about Russia's war. Click the link in the description to become our sponsor. And now is the moment to like this video and subscribe. It really helps. Sharing the video helps even more, so please spread the word and help the channel grow. Thanks. Special Operations Forces released footage from the Kursk region, where a strike badly wounded Russia's deputy commander of the Sever North Group, General Abachev. His car was hit overnight on August 17th. Reports say his arm and leg had to be amputated. Over the past day alone, Russia lost at least 830 occupiers killed and wounded. Since the start of the full-scale invasion, that's already 1,073,530 soldiers. In addition, in the past 24 hours, Ukraine's defense forces destroyed 1 Russian tank, 5 armored vehicles, 41 artillery systems, and dozens more pieces of enemy equipment. Ukraine's allies, together with the Trump administration, are drafting a plan for security guarantees. According to The Times, the options include training troops in Ukraine. The UK and France would send instructors to prepare Ukrainian forces, alongside weapons deliveries. At the same time, Typhoon and F-35 jets would patrol Ukrainian skies. Air protection. With limited US guarantees, Europe would focus on air patrols and drone reconnaissance. If Russia violates terms, new sanctions follow. Expanding NATO's Article 5. In Washington, officials discussed expanding collective defense to Ukraine. This would be a major deterrent, but requires a treaty and approval in allied parliaments. A Japan or South Korea model. A bilateral US-Ukraine defense pact, meaning American bases on Ukrainian soil. The Times notes that allied military leaders now have 10 days to agree on realistic steps. Meanwhile, Associated Press showed new footage of Ukraine's long-range Flamingo missile, which has already passed successful tests. Sources say the plant now produces 1 missile per day.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Weapon production is a huge guarantee of Ukraine independence, but also European safety. The overall technical characteristics is not much different from a Shahed. Of course, it has different construction, but the function is the same. The maximum range is 3,000 kilometers confirmed, with an accuracy of 14 meters to target on this distance. And the payload capacity is, in the moment, 1,150 kilograms. Right now, Ukraine is holding this barrier and, let's say, it's exporting safety to other countries which are standing behind Ukraine.
By the way, we know now why this long-range Ukrainian cruise missile is called Flamingo. A factory mistake made the first prototypes come out pink. So from Russia's propaganda made up Ukrainian combat mosquitoes, we moved to real, cute, long-range pink flamingos, each carrying over 1 ton of warhead. Priests of the Russian Orthodox Church are spying in Europe for the Kremlin. Here's how it works. They set up churches near NATO bases, gather intelligence and pass it to Moscow. More details in the report.
The free operation of the Russian Orthodox Church in Ukraine is one of the demands put forward by the Kremlin, voiced by the Russian dictator at the meeting in Anchorage. One might think that Putin is concerned about the feelings of the congregation, but unfortunately the churches of the Russian Orthodox Church, which are closely linked to the security services, are merely a hook for the FSB's agent network to latch onto locally, allowing them to monitor and promote their own narratives. As proof, the only person Putin met with in Anchorage, besides Trump, was Archbishop Alexei of Sitka and Alaska.
We met with him before my trip here. He personally told me about how the Orthodox Church began here. He mentioned that he had also previously visited this location, having attended a religious service there. He recounted his experiences and observations with considerable enthusiasm and genuine affection, expressing everything with remarkable warmth and a deep sense of appreciation.
Icons were flown to Alaska from Kirill. What was passed along from the central office with their help is anyone's guess. The Archbishop accepts the gifts with joy and kisses them after the Russian war criminal has kissed the icons.
I'm very, very grateful.
In the fourth year of the full-scale invasion, GRU agents continue to operate under the guise of religious sites in NATO countries and beyond. Moreover, analysts say that Russians choose the most notorious places for their espionage. A church on the outskirts of the Swedish town of Västerås. In 2013, this plot of land was purchased by Rosatom. The go-ahead for construction was given in an extremely short time by Lars Kalseby, the former head of the board of the Swedish Construction Party. The building was constructed until 2019, also with Rosatom's money. But officially, the church officials concealed the identity of their benefactor. By the way, according to investigators, the Russians chose a rather unusual place for prayer in Sweden. This is precisely where the country's longest runway is located, along with strategic bridges over Lake Mälaren, as well as the Swedish Army General Staff in Enköping and a military communications hub.
The Russians did not choose this location for the church by accident, because just a few kilometers from the church is the Westinghouse electric plant, which produces nuclear fuel cells. The distance between them is only 4.22 kilometers. Even closer, just about 500 meters away, there is another strategic facility, the Västerås Flygplats Airport. 6 kilometers from the church is the thermal power plant and the headquarters of the energy supplier company Mälarenergi AB. And almost 5 kilometers away is the ABB metallurgy plant.
The abbot of this church, Pavel Makarenko, was exposed by Swedish investigators for having received a certificate of merit from the Foreign Intelligence Service for his work. Previously, the priest was the CEO of a Swedish company owned by the Russian developer Gerasimov. Gerasimov, by the way, owns an entire network of so-called church projects in Sweden. And at the same time, he is implicated in a drug trafficking case. The church in Västerås is as impenetrable as a military facility. Only one parishioner agreed to speak with journalists. But even she was quickly silenced. Unknown woman.
We are not involved in politics. We come here to pray. That's all. There are lots of nationalities here. Greeks, Ukrainians, not just Russians. We're chatting in English.
What are you doing?
I am doing an interview.
Stop! Don't talk!
Important infrastructure and military facilities, government institutions, and a high concentration of embassies. Journalists analyze dozens of ROC churches in Sweden, Norway, Finland, as well as in other European countries. And everywhere, the same pattern. Russians choose simply the perfect spots for surveillance and organizing sabotage. For example, in the Czech Republic, right next to an ammunition depot where, in 2014, Russian special services blew up the warehouses, there are 2 ROC facilities located nearby. Despite this, there's only one precedent where local authorities shut down the activities of the Russian church on their territory.
The city of Turku. Since 2002, the Church of the Dormition of the Most Holy Mother of God operated there, and its abbot was Igumen Nikita, Oleg Stanislavovich Dobronravov, a close associate of Gundyaev and an expert in church law. In 1997, he worked in the Department for External Church Relations, and in 2000, he was tonsured as a monk by Metropolitan Kirill. This church was closed by the city authorities of Turku on August 1st, 2022, due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, since the coastal fleet of Pansio and its command, the port of Turku, the regional state administration of southwest Finland, and the Russian consulate general in Turku were all located nearby.
But even after the church was shut down, the priest found himself a place in Stockholm. And unfortunately, the practice of expelling propagandists in Kazakhs, who often refuse to express their opinion about Russia's aggression in Ukraine and are frequently and justifiably suspected of working for intelligence services, did not extend beyond Turku, Finland. All across Europe and Scandinavia, hundreds of eyes from Moscow are watching what is happening.
And finally, how Putin's circle is getting richer even during the war. The combined assets of 12 top Russian elites are estimated at around 300 billion rubles. That's about the yearly budget of a Russian city with 1 million residents, except Moscow and St. Petersburg. Who exactly is on the list? We'll tell you in the report.
A recent investigation has revealed the scale of the financial empire belonging to the closest circle of the Russian president. The combined assets of 12 top elite members exceed 300 billion rubles. This amount is comparable to the annual budgets of the country's major million-plus cities, excluding Moscow and St. Petersburg. Among the key figures, of course, are Putin's close relatives.
There is a private life, and no one is allowed to interfere in it. I have always had a negative attitude toward those who, with their runny noses and erotic fantasies, intrude into other people's lives.
Alina Kabayeva, known as the mother of two of the Russian president's children, has over 1.5 billion rubles in her accounts. In 2017, Kabayeva earned 54 million rubles at NMG, but in 2018, her income already amounted to 785.5 million. In 2019, it dropped to 55 million, and in the first half of 2020, Kabayeva received 153 million rubles at NMG. That is, she was earning almost 900,000 a day. The gymnast and her relatives have all kinds of real estate, plots in New Moscow, an apartment on Prechistenka, a cottage in Kuban, apartments on Arbat, and an estate in the Moscow region. The estimated value of the Kabayeva family's real estate exceeds 8 billion rubles. At least another 2 billion should be added to this amount. Her assets used to reach 2 and even 4 billion. According to experts, part of these funds has been invested in major construction projects, media, and commercial enterprises. Control over such financial flows gives Alina influence that goes beyond sports and public activities.
You know, although they say that happiness isn't about money, it's about how much you have, so you need to earn a lot of money. It just won't work out otherwise.
Money is something important to you?
Of course it's important, because without money you're nobody.
$1.7 billion, that's exactly how much the president's younger daughter, Katerina Tikhonova, has in her accounts. This is money in Gazprom Bank and additional funds in the bank Rossiya. In addition to bank deposits, Tikhonova controls several private companies and foundations, which makes her influence not only financial but also technological, especially in the fields of high technology and innovation. Like Putin's elder daughter Maria Vorontsova, it's hard to call Katerina Tikhonova a model of morality. One moment she leaves her billionaire husband for a ballet artist, the next she has a child out of wedlock. But family values, that's for everyone else, not for the elite. Look at her father. He cheated on his wife twice and has been living with a gymnast for 20 years. And nothing happens. Renat Davlet-Geldiv on the personal life of Putin's youngest daughter, which is so different from what they try to sell to ordinary Russians.
This is Villa Altamira, the very mansion belonging to Putin's younger daughter, Katerina Tikhonova, and her now ex-husband, Kirill Shamalov. 300 square meters of living space, 2 large salons for entertaining guests, a pool with a view of the beach.
The elder daughter, Maria Vorontsova, has about 330 million rubles at her disposal. These figures are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the financial influence hidden from the public eye. Experts emphasize that this method of storing assets makes them virtually inaccessible to public oversight, while allowing for a high degree of financial independence.
From 2020 to 2024, Vorontsova earned 944 million rubles.
Our society, I mean Russian society, is still not so, well, economy-centered. And for us, the absolutely highest and most paramount value is still the intrinsic and irreplaceable value of all human life.
Not only the family, but also close associates and allies possess impressive sums as well. State Duma Speaker Vyacheslav Volodin keeps more than one of the 7 billion rubles, which brings him about 166 million rubles in annual income. According to experts, the secret of these savings lies in a complex network of bank accounts, investment funds, and companies with state participation. For comparison, the average deposit of an ordinary Russian is about 500,000 rubles. The gap between the elite and ordinary citizens is rapidly widening, raising questions about the transparency of financial flows and potential risks to economic stability.
That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Thank you for your support. Strength to Ukraine's defenders. Glory to Ukraine. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. See you next time.